meditation, we have been kind of subtly focusing on a different element. And each element has sort of a dark side and a light side to it. Like if you think about the pristine waterfall and a lake and the beauty of a river, and then the storms in an ocean, or beautiful breezes, and then hurricanes and tornadoes. And so fire can have like a nurturing, warming energy to it, or it can be a destroyer, like what happened recently in Australia, which was very tragic and sad and
Oh, yeah, the koalas.
so sad. So we're trying to find balance in our own selves, and if we can kind of find the the balance in our own bodies with the elements. So fire in our own body would be considered, it's in the third chakra, kind of where the belly button is. It's, you may have heard of people call that the hara, and like Tai Chi, or the chi is, that's where they believe it's housed, is in the belly button. So I use the metaphor
Okay.
of a seed, and a seed is just a seed, and then we put it in the earth, and as soon as you put it in the earth, it becomes a representation of possibility. And then once it's in the earth, it can't really grow until it gets watered, and then the water represents our emotions, right? So if you think about the seed also as a metaphor, as something that you're caring to create,
It's all up to us, yeah.
yeah, we have to allow our emotions to support the things that we want to create. And then the fire kind of represents action. So it's the seed that's been watered, and it's that force, that feeling of the sun on a seed. If we have an idea or a project, and we have that just passion and desire to get something done, then that's what it's going to take, to have benefit and outcome of our dreams and our desires, to like really feel for them and then act upon, not just ignore our intuition and our love and our desires. So before I go too far, I do want to invite you, if you have a smudge, to smudge your sacred space. If you don't have one, don't worry about it. I have some, and it kind of is for all of us. So just to clear away any negative energy, and it's also for protection. So, and then I'm going to say, I guess I'll say a little prayer as well, and then I'll continue.
All right.
All right. So, I was thinking too, like fire. So the element of fire is something that transmutes energy. So thinking about, I was thinking about like slavery and jazz music. Like when a people can be that oppressed and trod upon, and I know that almost, we all have varying degrees in our ancestorhood of suffering. Either we were perpetrators and that caused us suffering, or we were, perpetrated upon. And but jazz is something like that. You can hear in the music the passion of the experience and the pain and the story of the musicians, that what the people have gone through. So that's kind of like something that I was thinking, like that's a fiery element. Or even in Native American traditions, they go to Sundance, and they, that's kind of a lot about sacrifice, and sort of, a lot of them will dance and fast for 4 days without food or water. And it's to offer their prayers to the sun in return for sun giving us life. And again, like,
Wow.
if you think about, Native Americans, and just, how it's a very sad history, but there's so much wisdom, and there's a lot of indigenous youth that are now rising up and sharing their voices.
Good.
That's the fire in them. Like, it's time to like follow these passions and not allow the fear to get the best of us. So, okay, so I'm gonna just say a little prayer. Okay. And if you have a candle, that might be nice too, if you want to light a candle. I don't know if.
Okay.
Yeah, I need a candle.
Okay.
I have a candle.
Oh, good. Yeah, because so you can have a little flame to represent the fire.
Sure.
So there's a belief that Pachamama, Mother Nature, sprouted tobacco out of her forehead, so that humans, two-leggeds, could speak to God. And she kind of took pity on them and gave them a medicine. So I'm just wanting to ask Creator and Mother Earth, to, through this tobacco, through the smoke going down into my lungs and my heart and out back up through my voice, to hear the prayer for all of us here in this circle for some healing, for our own healing, and as we heal ourselves, for that healing to affect, that we can affect the planet, and also that the healing of the planet can affect us. And there is so much healing going on. There's the stars are visible in places where they haven't been, and that knowledge that's available to us from just stargazing is so important. Mountains, you can see from South Korea, North Korea again, and vice versa. And when you can't see your neighbor, it's easier to not trust or love them. And so through the healing of our Mother Earth, may we heal, because we can see things available to us that are here to teach us. I'm really wanting to ask for our, I'm just going to mute for a second. I really want to pray for the allies that we have, the plant allies and the animals and the guardians, our ancestors that have gone before us, to really be present with us during this meditation, because we're going to go a little deeper in this one. We're asking for kind of the deconstruction of the belief systems that we created from places that weren't necessarily safe. We built up these protection mechanisms from certain traumas, and we made stories about ourselves. And so I'm really asking through this tobacco that our spiritual guardians presence themselves to us for our healing. If we can heal ourselves, then we can help one another. And so this is my prayer. Aho, thank you. So, all right. So yes, so dismemberment. I'm gonna unmute again. Sorry, there's just a little back feed last time. So dismemberment journey is it's inviting.
So I can put it away. Tomorrow there's no cable.
It's inviting our animal helpers to literally, in our imagination, take us apart. So it can feel scary to go there. like a raven pecking you apart, or a lion tearing you apart, or a shark, or, it could be a gentle wind turning you into, a million pieces of sand. Um, there's no right or wrong way to do it. But the idea is that um, when we pull apart these parts of ourselves, that we can rebuild ourselves in alignment to the divine and fill ourselves with light. So it's kind of I don't want to say scary, but sometimes we have preconceived notions about, like being torn apart by an animal can be a little bit strange for some of us. But the animal guides that we have, even in our meditations, are doing that in the most loving, protective, supportive way possible. So they have the fangs and the claws and the horns and the things built into their physicality that can help destroy the things that aren't serving our systems. And so we're asking them to help in that way. Um, so, yeah, so just be open to the idea of dismemberment. In many shamanic journeys, shamans were discovered because they would have these intense dreams of dismemberment, and they would have after they would go through an initiatory process, whether it was through their dreams or something in real life, then a certain channel would be open to them to receive knowledge, because they would realize sometimes that they couldn't really live in the vibration of being asleep anymore. They had something about the dismemberment wakes a part of us up, so that once we're back in alignment, we can receive the messages and the understanding that's necessary to kind of walk on the planet in a more aligned way with the wishes of the divine and Mother Earth herself. So, so I guess I'm just going to go ahead and start. So, you all can get comfortable. So there's Pam, you're just joining live for the first time, but if you like to sit up and meditate sitting, that's perfectly fine. If you want to lay down, that's also welcome. However you're comfortable. If you do lay down, try to have your spine straight so that the energies can flow through the bones, and if you are sitting down, try to have both of the soles of the feet so your legs aren't crossed. So the idea is just to kind of be open and receptive. I'm going to go ahead and mute you guys again, just in case there's any like other sounds. So I can't really hear you, and I'm just going to okay. So before we start to really go deeper into our meditation, I'm just gonna use my fan here. Just imagine, and you may have been seeing them lately, the red-tailed hawk flying around, and they're so beautiful, and they catch that solar energy through their wings. You can see the reflection of the sun bouncing off of the tail, and it's such a beautiful color. So just calling in that red-tailed hawk medicine. And then you can focus your awareness on your breathing. Inhaling deeply into your heart, your abdomen, filling your belly as much as possible, and then exhaling all of the air out of your system completely. And as you follow the inhalation and the exhalation of your breath, you can also, just like that prayer, just like the smoke that Creator provided that tobacco, you can follow the inhalation into your own heart, into your own being, deep down into your bones, and exhale, so that through this meditation, whatever it is that you personally need to dissolve or get rid of, your breath knows because it's a part of you, and it's been a part of you since you came out of the womb, from that very first breath of life until our very last breath of life. Your breath, the divine breath, knows you better than anything. And so as you inhale and exhale, allow that breath to kind of make known to the universe the things that you want to keep inside of you that are your medicine, the parts of you that make you strong and loving and kind. And then the exhalation knows you so well that it knows the parts of you that we want to exhale and get rid of, get let go of. So I really invite you to surrender into the meditation. And then we're going to just imagine the sun was out today and it felt amazing. You know, we've had this wild, witchy, crazy weather this past week, and you can really just, if you'd like to, close your eyes and feel that vibration and love of the sun on your face and on your body and on the very tip tops of the trees. So, following that sunshine on the trees, you can kind of see them um, moving in the wind, and maybe the wind begins to pick up a little bit, and then the branches fall down onto the earth. And then you can see yourself in a wood, beautiful pines and cedar forest. And you can begin to pick up those sun-kissed branches and create your own fire. In your meditation, you can see yourself working with the element of fire. And you know that you have to use the smallest little kindling to get the fire started. You have to be patient with the element and send it some love. And so, as you're working with the fire, you realize that this element has a power to awaken all of your senses. You can smell the fire, you can smell the smoke, you can hear the crackling, you can hear the fire sort of beginning to communicate with you. You can see the many, many colors that are more than just oranges and yellows, but sometimes beautiful white and purples and oranges and blues and greens even. You can feel on your body, just like the sun, the warmth that the fire provides for you. So it's awakening each of your senses. And so we're going to ask the fire to help um, help empower this journey that we're about to go on. So calling in again the medicine of the red tail and the element of fire, we're going to invite our animal guides to come help us dissolve ourselves, dissolve our egos, dissolve our bodies in a way that is safe and necessary. Because before we can create a new world, sometimes we must destroy the old. And so, knowing in your meditation that you are more than 100% safe, not only are you safe, you are loved by the Mother Earth that is below you, beneath you, and all around you. You're supported by the fire that you just created yourself, and you're supported by your animal guides. So I'm just going to begin to rattle a little bit. And in your journey and listening to the sound of the rattle, I'll invite you to surrender. Surrender so deeply that whatever animal shows up to help you, that you're open. It could be the solar queens of mountain lion or black panther. It can be an animal that works with the fire element, like a dragon, burning away the things that don't serve us. It could be the wise matriarch of the whale, the ancient whale that takes us so deep down in the ocean that we dissolve into the ocean itself. The red tail or the eagle taking us up so close up to the sun gods that we dissolve from the flames there. So as I begin to rattle, you can use one of my examples, asking one of those animals to help you, or you can just allow for whatever experience shows up in your imagination. And so there's no right or wrong. It can be, and if nothing happens, don't worry about it, because some healing is going to happen for us because we've asked for it. And so maybe you're in a place right now that you're perfectly whole, and that's okay. But if something does show up, I ask that you just kind of surrender to it in your imagination. And if maybe you'll have a visual in your mind's eye, maybe you'll just sense that it's happening. So just following my voice a little bit longer, really relaxing. Feel the weight of your body sinking down into the earth itself, almost so heavy that you become part of the earth. And maybe it's the ant kingdom, maybe it's the creepy crawlies that begin to dismember you. Whatever it is, it's going to be okay. Just going to rattle for maybe 2 to 3 minutes. It's not a long journey. And then we'll continue from there, but we'll allow for the dismemberment journey to start. And then staying in the meditation, we can invite another helper, another ally. And whether in your meditation you're dismembered or not, it's okay. You can just put some thought of acknowledgement into letting go and surrendering to the sources outside of ourselves that kind of know best, our higher self and God, the divine. And we're going to ask for maybe that red tail to come back, or Isis, who in her own mythology, her husband was torn apart and his body parts were hidden across the world. And Isis grew wings and flew around the world collecting his body pieces. So we can call in another ally, Isis herself, or the red tail, or the white wolf that can carry our bodies back together, and just to make sure that everything is completely purified and dissolved. We're going to allow our ally or animal ally to take all of those parts that are us from our bodies, our hearts, our minds, our intestines, our legs, our bones, our blood, everything that makes who we are, and allow them to take it to the very high top of active volcanic crater. And they're going to drop all of the pieces that they've collected into the fire of the volcano so that they can purify even deeper. And then we're going to allow the fire to transmute our who we are and back into remembering who we really want to be, who we chose to be before we came to this world. Expressions of our divine selves. And so this fire transmutes us and puts us piece by piece. Every single cell is going back into rebuilding from the very tip of our toes to our toenails up through the soles of the feet, placing those delicate bones that there's so many little bones that work, that make our feet work. All of those are being put back together with delicate care so that when we reawaken, when we step on Mother Earth, that the connection will be healing. Every time we put our foot on the Mother Earth, that we will feel her energy and that connection. And then the bones that are our heels up through the shins, all the musculature up through the knees, strengthening our knees and our thighs, rebuilding up through the hips, and any sort of wounds or healing that needs to happen in the reproductive organs, whether we've given birth or not. There's usually some healing that needs to take place, even as a representative of our womb for Mother Earth. We're allowing that to be put back together in place, filled with luminous light. And the fire that we built from the beginning, we can put that back in there in place. So it's the light side of the element of fire. It's the nurturing, healing, warming passion, right back in place where it belongs, in our hara, in the center of our belly button, the place that we were connected to our mothers, that's being gently placed back into place so that, no matter what our relationship was to our mothers, that we can have some healing and we can, heal all of the times maybe that we didn't feel seen or heard. And then we're going to rebuild the spine so that the lower, middle, upper back is supporting us in a deep, deep way so that the bones that are put back together in our bodies, um, it's almost like they can communicate to the bones of the Mother Earth. Like all of the bones of the Mother Earth, all of the ancestors who have gone before us, they love us and they want us to take care of this planet so that the next generations, the next group of ancestors can keep caretaking one another and so that our lineages can continue. So those bones are speaking to the bones that are being put back together in our body in a perfect assemblage of um, protective and healing foundation. And then our guides, our animals are putting back together um, our stomachs and our lungs and our livers and all of the organs. And they take so much care and love in putting our heart back into our bodies. They put it so tenderly and so lovingly back into our body that it has a protective light, the egg of light around it. And this light is, it's vibing with the heart in a way that once we reawaken from this meditation, that we can become heart-centered people again. We still want to allow the animal guides to continue to put back the rest of us, our arms, our hands that are connected from the heart through the arms, so that all of the caretaking that we do comes from our hearts. Taking a lot of care to put back a piece of medicine that you can, maybe it's like a hummingbird or a little jewel, um, like a little rosemary or some kind of gem. Um, maybe Pele, the goddess Pele, since we're working with fire, the volcanic goddess, she has cried because she suffers for our earth. And she leaves behind her these precious tears of obsidian. Maybe you can take some of that medicine so that we can find a way, because each one of us as women, as nurturers, we suffer for this Mother Earth. And sometimes it's so heavy and we feel helpless because it's seeming like, we can't do very much about it. But we're going to take whatever piece of medicine that is calling and presenting itself to us. And we're going to take that medicine and put it, when we put ourselves back together through these animals, you can put it in your throat. So that going forward out of this meditation, we can learn how to communicate and speak in a way that we're speaking up for Mother Earth and we're speaking up for ourselves. And this piece of medicine is going to help us be heard. And then your animal guides can help you put back together your the senses that are represented in your head, so that the next time you go to taste something, it might taste like a tangerine, or a strawberry, that you're tasting it again for the first time, that sweet fruit. Maybe some sweet corn that also represents the medicine of the fire, the corn pollen being very sacred to the Native American people. Um, the smells that we mentioned, the senses to be able to smell the fire, and the eyes, so that as they put your eyes back in place, that the cloud and the fog of distractions of, I know I'm certainly guilty, the distractions of social media, the distractions of the news, the distractions of of caring so much about the planet, not being able to look away, that they can replace our eyes back in our head so that the fog can be lifted and we can look up and see the stars again, and we can look up and see the beauty again, that is so astounding that it's going to help us, find a way again to live in right relationship to the Mother Earth. That we see the beauty so deeply that we can't do anything else but live in right relationship to that beauty, that we can meet it where it is, that it can open up our ears. Once our ears they're being put back in place so gingerly, tenderly, these little tiny organs that are connected, looking like little embryos. They're directly connected to our hearts, and our ears are opening up the blockages there so that we can hear the bird songs, that we can even maybe care enough to learn some of them, and learn who's making those beautiful sounds. And our guides are putting back together our brains, and it happened in that order: the body, the heart, the bones, and then the brain is being put in there last. And the brain is so precious, the mind is so precious, but it has to follow the heart and the body. And so we're also asking for these animal helpers and guides, that when they put our brain back in place, that it's connected to the command center of our hearts. It doesn't get to be the command center itself anymore. Because when we just stay up in our brains, we're basically just floating heads. We have to, the divine gave us bodies so that we could walk on this planet having experience, being embodied and remembering ourselves. So we're putting back the members of our body. The animals are putting back the members that make up our body, and the brain is last. And so, and then on top of that, our hair, just allowing, even if it's in your meditation, you can imagine maybe like long flowing, it doesn't have to be long, but just really beautiful, like a lion's mane hair that can act sort of like the native people believe as a spiritual antenna. That's why they, grow it so long. You can just let your mane down. And then, now that the animal guides and helpers have put us back together from the bottom of the soles of our feet to the tip top of our heads, you can feel yourself, allow yourself to be filled with spiritual power. And then you've been put back together whole and healthy but we're still in the realm of the imagination. So you can even continue to emerge as like a phoenix rising. You can merge into, the white wolf, the unicorn, whatever animal that you look to that gives you strength. The eagle is one that's very revered and respected. And you can intertwine your soul with that animal to know its medicine. And then, whatever that animal is, it absolutely has a distinct relationship to the sun. So, even if it's like a nocturnal animal, that's still in relationship to the sun. It um, sleeps during the day, or if it's something like a wolf, the wolf usually also, they can take that solar energy and use it to provide sight for the night. And then whatever your relationship is, we're going to ask one more time for the sun to burn away any last bit, help us to dissolve, especially the negative thoughts that are harming us, because our minds are so powerful. So we're going to just allow for the sun and the fire to burn away self doubt. Fear has a place to help protect us against some things, but too much fear is usually generally not healthy. All of our emotions have a place and have benefit to some extent. But the ones that if we're getting stuck in too much anger, or if we're getting stuck in too much depression to the point of inactivity, then that doesn't serve us. So we're asking for the fire and the sun just to kind of melt those things out of our system. And then just like imagining that flame of maybe incredible athlete, like an Olympic athlete they get to carry, because they have such right relationship to their bodies. They get to carry that flame. So we can imagine ourselves in our new recreated form, our new created balance of mind, body, and spirit, our new reality of being heart forward women and people on this planet, that we can pick up the flame ourselves. We can pick up the torch, and we can help to guide others also to be heart forward people. So you can feel, we started the meditation feeling the sun on ourselves, feeling it on the tips of the trees, and we created that fire. So we can feel now not only the sun that is outside of us, but the sun or the fire that is inside of us. And we can decide to no longer play small with the what we have left of our lives, that because we have this flame to guide us now, that we can participate in our own lives and create our own lives alongside the divine. So, being all women, we're already life bringers, but now that we have the flame and the sun is also a life giver, we can use that flame to help guide. And then how that flame and that fire inside of us is going to guide us is that we're going to ask it to release our creative energy. And each one of us has been given a talent on this planet. So some people, might express themselves through beautiful photographs, or, there's the wonderful chefs that can cook a meal that, make us happy and put smiles on our faces when we taste the food. And some of us are storytellers, and some of us are gardeners, and we know how to grow things and make flowers grow and vegetables grow. Some of us express ourselves through movement and dance. Some of us can sing. So, whatever that passion, that fire inside of you, it's going to reawaken your creativity. Because when we can follow that passion and follow our creative sides, then we're honoring the fire and respecting it. So we're just going to allow a moment to integrate the experience of being dismembered and put back together. It's a very profound healing. And, sometimes in like my church, or, some of us only need one sweat lodge, or, some of us might just need to be baptized once, or just to be, some of us only might need one experience that awakens us to live in alignment with our divine selves. Generally speaking, that's not the case. Most of us need reminders to remember. So you can just, for now, integrate this experience by, just feeling it. You can, if you'd like to, maybe put your hands on your heart center. Feel your heart beating from this place of rebirth and reawakening. Allow yourself to feel the love that I have for you, the love that we have for one another, the love that we have for our divine Mother Earth, the love that, Lenore was speaking about of her friend for her elderly parents. Allow yourselves to feel into that love with your new awakened heart. And that feels good. Some of us, sometimes it's scary to allow ourselves to love, because when we're children, so many times we're shamed or punished for expressing ourselves in that way. And So that's no longer a part of our story, though. We get to love now in a way that is open, in a way that is whole, in a way that is supportive of ourselves and one another. So integrating that into your body. And then you can begin to deepen the inhale and exhale again. Maybe we can inhale and exhale a few breaths for those that we've lost. Inhale and exhale for our elders and our ancestors. Inhale and exhale for ourselves. Inhale and exhale for the loved ones that are still with us, partners, children. Then we're going to take one final inhale and exhale for the future generations coming up, grandchildren. And then we're going to see the planet with humanity remembered. We are all going through, maybe not on a guided shamanic meditation, but as a humanity, we are going through a dismemberment journey. We're all being confronted in a way that has never happened, through all of humanity being affected. So, with this final acknowledgement of the inhalation and the exhalation of the breath, we're going to inhale and exhale for the future generations awakened to their hearts, so that there will be bird song and water, salmon, swimming again, that aren't like destructive like monsters of a representation of what they used to be. They're, the life of salmon and buffalo and all of these things. You can imagine the world living in reciprocity and respect, and the future generations benefiting for that. And then you're going to take one more inhalation and exhale, feeling refreshed and energized, and the weight of the body can be released. The kind of magnetic force to Mother Earth can lighten, so that you can move the body again, and maybe move the wrists and ankles around. And if you are lying down, you can hug in your knees. You can, if you want to move the knees, kind of like windshield wiper them back and forth. And then I generally don't, I haven't really been doing this, but if you want to, um, you can just stay in your meditative state, and then you can journal, and you can journal, or I'm gonna invite anybody, if you want to share. We haven't really been doing that, but I have plenty of time if anybody wants to share. Otherwise,